What's good, Detroit Sports Nation? I am Eric Vincent, your host here at the DSN News Desk. Thank you for tuning in. We appreciate your time and support, because right about now starts one of my favorite times of the year in the NFL offseason. I love when they put the finalists together for the NFL honors, for the NFL awards, and they reveal the winners of these regular season achievements. And there's been a lot of competition in terms of the Detroit Lions fan base of whether or not Dan Campbell should have been an NFL Coach of the Year finalist, because unfortunately, he was not. The AP Coach of the Year went to 5 different coaches. I'll quickly read them off. Brian Daboll for the Giants, Sean McDermott for the Bills, Kyle Shanahan for the Niners, Doug Peterson for the Jaguars, and Nick Sirianni for the Philadelphia Eagles. I have no problem with Dan Campbell not being included on this list. None whatsoever. I know a lot of fans are bothered by it. They all say he was robbed, he should have been there, yada, yada, yada. I get it. But from what I was told, I remember putting up the video talking about how horrible the officiating was for the Rams and Seahawks game to help decide if the Lions would get into the playoffs. And a lot of the pushback in the comment section was, well, you can't start the season off the way you did. You can't start off 1-6 and expect to be rewarded at the end of the season down the line. And I think this is another example of that right now, because Dan Campbell and this Detroit Lions football team starting off 1-6, especially considering a lot of those losses were at the hand of Dan Campbell and the coaching staff, putting their players behind the 8 ball with questionable play calling, with bad clock management, with unnecessary gambles with the football. Like, there was a lot of issues that were happening with this football team that are glaring. They're very glaring for what we saw to start this season off. And I know he did the second half of the season. He was fantastic. The Lions were one of the hottest teams in the league. And Dan Campbell seemed to get a hold of the mistakes that he was making. And we love to see that, because we see a lot of coaches in Lions history not show the ability to make halftime adjustments and, be able to work on the fly to help get their team in the best position to win. And Dan Campbell did a good job of making that official in the second half of the season. But the first half counts as well. And seeing how ugly some of these victories were, we're not going to go down the schedule again. They're already painful and annoying enough to think about. But if you start off the season you did, with a lot of those games being as winnable as they were, it's hard for me to put him over those 5 coaches that we just named, especially considering what they had to deal with in terms of what their teams were before they got there, or how they were just able to build them up this season. Like, we'll go through them now. Brian Daboll for the Giants. Last year, the Giants were 4-13 over Joe Judge. Daboll takes over. Now they 9-7-1 in the playoff picture and upsetting the Minnesota Vikings. I know, granted, it's a regular season award, but just goes to their credibility of how prepared he got his team for that game. The Buffalo Bills, 13-3 under Sean McDermott. The Bills seem kind of fluky a little bit throughout the season, but knowing how competitive the AFC is, I got to give the Bills their credit. They played a tough division. McDermott had them ready. They came out with a lot of key victories. I can't take away from that. So Sean McDermott deserves to be on this list. Doug Peterson for the Jags. They finished 9-8 this season after a 3-14 season last year under Messi, Urban Meyer, and Darrell Bevell, who took over for him. Doug Peterson did a fantastic job with Trevor Lawrence and this team. Had him in an awesome last game of the regular season against the Titans to win the division, win the AFC South, and host a playoff game, which they went on to have an unbelievable comeback victory against the Chargers in the playoffs. They deserve to be there. I got no problem with Doug Peterson being there. The San Francisco 49ers, 13-4 under Kyle Shanahan. Now, with all the quarterback issues that they had, with Trey Lance going down early, Jimmy G, who they didn't even want to be on their roster, he helped get them to a bunch of victories. And when he goes down, Brock Purdy comes through, and he's able to do what he did as a 7-0 quarterback that was a third stringer. Your head coach was able to get the best out of him, put together one of the best defenses in all the NFL. Honestly, Kyle Shanahan might be my pick if I had a vote for Coach of the Year. He deserves to be on that list. And then Nick Sirianni for the Eagles speaks for itself. 14-3, they were the best team all season. He deserves to be at the top of the list. He should win the award, honestly, for their consistency throughout the year. I have no problem with those 5 coaches being on there. Dan Campbell was able to beat some of these coaches head-to-head, and I do like knowing that. But it's a learning experience for this team. It's a learning experience that you have to be able to play consistent throughout the season. You can't put yourself behind the 8 ball of a 1-6 record and then try to play catch up afterwards. It looked good because you're in a weak NFC. You were able to stand up to all the competition that was on your schedule, and you played well against just about damn near everybody. I can't take that away from Dan Campbell. I buy into Dan Campbell. I believe in him. I believe in this regime, and I believe in the future of this Detroit Lions base. But I cannot put him above these names that are above him. I just can't. These guys were consistent all season long, especially from some of them for what they had to go through and rebuild after the prior season. These are well-deserved coaches ahead of Dan Campbell. Again, this will maybe serve as some bulletin board material for him to make sure he's on his A game. But for now, I can't put him over those 5 names. I think we should be able to agree on that. If you disagree, you can talk to me in the comment section and tell me why. Something I was encouraged about is the AP Assistant Coach of the Year. And this, I believe, should go to the Detroit Lions assistant coach, Ben Johnson. Now, D'Amico Ryans is also up there for the 49ers as the defensive coordinator. Shane Steichen for the Philadelphia Eagles as their offensive coordinator. If I pronounced your last name wrong, I apologize. But for me, maybe this is biased as well, but seeing what Ben Johnson went through with this team, and personally, I think I would vote for him. It could be a little bit of bias on my part, but I think through the ups and downs that they had to deal with this season, and considering the pieces that Ben Johnson had to work with, a quarterback that a lot of the fan base didn't buy into early, a lot of injuries on the offensive line, the wide receiver core, the running game kind of dealing with injuries as well. Ben Johnson in this Lions offense was able to still remain top 5 throughout the season in terms of scoring, yards put together. They improved their third down efficiency, their red zone attacking. They really upgraded throughout the end of the season and really through their whole season. Were they perfect? No, they weren't perfect through the whole season. But I think it's well-deserved for Ben Johnson to at the very least be a finalist in this group. He may not win. I mean, the Eagles and the Niners' resumes speak flawlessly. D'Amico Ryans could be up for a head coaching gig in this upcoming offseason, or this current offseason, excuse me. But I think Ben Johnson does deserve some votes. There was a reason he was so sought after in this offseason with the interviews that he was taking on. And for real, it's a blessing that the Lions are able to get him back. I'm super happy that panned out. I actually called that he could actually come back, and it played out that exact fashion. So the Lions coaching staff should be in good shape coming up for next season with this motivation that they have now in terms of this voting and for what they did through the regular season this last year. Hopefully they're able to build upon that and show us exactly what we're expecting, which is a successful and prosperous Detroit Lions football team. Talk to me in the comment section, though. I'd love to hear your feedback. Were you upset that Dan Campbell was not a finalist for NFL Coach of the Year? I'd love to hear your feedback on that. Just answer the simple question, yes or no. Were you upset about Dan Campbell not being a finalist for the Coach of the Year? Make sure you hit us up in the comments, like the video as well, and subscribe to the channel if you're new to the channel. Help us ramp up and get closer to our goal of 6,000 subscribers. Getting closer and closer. Help us make that happen with your support. We would greatly appreciate it. Make sure you're tapping in with us on our social media as well. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, all of the above. Search and follow Detroit Sports Nation, and tap in with me as well at I am Eric Vincent. Thank you guys again so much for your support and being here. I really do appreciate it. I'll be back again soon with another update right here from the DSN News Desk. Peace.